On yesterday's video, I talked about a man named Leland Dudek, the man that President Trump has appointed to serve as acting commissioner for the Social Security Administration. And he made quite a name for himself yesterday when he threatened, as the acting head of the administration, the Social Security Administration, he threatened to shut the whole thing down. All of Social Security, he said he was going to shut down. I talked about how unbelievable that was, that anyway, incomprehensible that an acting head of that agency would dare say such a thing. It's crazy, crazy talk. Well, I said yesterday that I didn't know who he was. I didn't care. And then today I got a little curious and started to care. So I looked him up and found a very interesting article that was just posted on Wikipedia yesterday, going into his background a little bit. But first, remember this. Remember what Trump told us in 2016 and 2020 and 2024, what he told us about the types of people he would bring into government? Remember? The best and the brightest, the best and the finest? Listen to this.
You always say you're going to hire the best people to work under your administration.
Right.
Who are the best people?
I know the best people. I know the best managers. I know the best deal makers. We're going to make America great again. We're going to use our best people. We can do it because the people are so amazing. I want the best people. But the cabinet, we're going to have all the best people. We're going to find out who they are. So we're going to get the best people, but we're going to use our best people. We need to get the best and the finest. We're going to deliver. We're going to get the best people in the world. We're going to have the best people in the world. You got to pick the best people.
All right. So check this out. This is your best and finest. Here we go. Leland Dudek is the acting commissioner of the Social Security Administration, appointed after Michelle King resigned. He was previously a senior advisor in Social Security's Office of Program Integrity. He had previously worked in the Social Security Anti-Fraud Office as a management analyst and advisor. He was described by the Washington Post yesterday as an IT expert with a zeal for eliminating fraud. All right, well, that sounds good so far. He wants to eliminate fraud, right? No. Check this out. During the first few weeks of the second Trump administration, which is this year, he was put on administrative leave after he broke the agency's chain of command to cooperate with the Department of Government Efficiency. He was also suspected of violating agency protocols and ethical standards of conduct. Social Security's internal counsel suspected that he had violated, get this, the strict information disclosure laws that Social Security uses to protect individuals' information. They could use an apostrophe there after the S, but okay, do you understand how serious this is? Under the Trump administration, he was suspended because he was suspected of violating the strict information disclosure laws to protect our information. According to an affidavit filed by Social Security's former chief of staff, Dudek was placed on administrative leave pending an investigation into his conduct. He assisted DOGE in gaining unprecedented access to Social Security's data, get this, in direct violation of at least 3 of Social Security's security pillars. I'll try saying that a few times. Social Security's security pillars. Anyway, this is serious, though. I don't mean to joke around about it. He helped DOGE gain access in violation of all our personal data, in violation of at least 3 of Social Security's security pillars that all agency employees are bound by. Now, this is not, there's a lawsuit, but this is not according to the lawsuit. This is according to the former chief of staff of the Social Security Administration. So this is internal, okay? This is not somebody outside, trying to just filing a lawsuit. We'll get to that in a minute. But check this out. The suit alleges that he allowed DOGE employees access to sensitive data without proper justification, access to data from remote locations, which isn't allowed by Social Security employees, and he allowed them to examine the data in front of non-Social Security personnel. Huge violations. They had, look, everybody thinks the government is a screw up and that they do nothing right. But look at these common sense measures they had in place to protect our information. You had to see the information, our personal private data. You had to first provide proper justification. You had to explain why you needed to see it. You had to justify your reason to access it. You were not allowed to access data from any remote location. You had to do it from the Social Security offices only. And you could only examine the information in front of Social Security employees. You could not even look at the information in front of anyone else. That was all designed to protect our data. And as far as I know, there's never been a breach of it. So this broad government intrusion into citizens' privacy is unprecedented, the lawsuit says. And I would say so, quite unprecedented. Nonetheless, President Trump, who promised to give us only the best and finest, made him Social Security's acting head. Amazing, right? Although he had been appointed as acting commissioner, Dudek admitted that DOGE is calling most of the shots at Social Security, admitting that decisions are made without his input, and he has to effectuate those decisions. That's all he's doing. It's really bad stuff. Let's see here. Oh, yeah, and get this. In direct response to unfavorable coverage of a Washington Post story, Dudek banned access to news sites on Social Security staff computers. Okay, well, you may say that was good anyway, because why would they be reading news during the working day? And, that's a fair point. But the fact is they'd always had access to it before. And what prompted the removal of that access was his not wanting them to be able to read unfavorable stories about him while at work. Pretty amazing. Elon Musk and President Trump alleged that Social Security is currently paying, tens of millions of dollars to deceased individuals, which is a whole other story. I'm not here to get into that right now. But let's go back down to Dudek here. In his first major act, Dudek closed the entire deputy commissioner level component where he previously worked, and he moved the executives who previously suspended him. You get that? This move reassigned thousands of Social Security employees and resulted in the demotion and reassignment of those investigating Dudek's actions or alleged actions. That's unbelievable. I mean, it's so self-serving and so vindictive that you think this is making our government more efficient? Really? If you're a MAGA supporter and you're a big President Trump supporter, do you think his first major act, which is to get revenge on people who once investigated him, do you really think that kind of person, that kind of manager, is going to make this agency more efficient? It's unbelievable. On February 24th, 2025, Dudek emailed Social Security Administration employees, get this, informing them that he had fired 14 of their coworkers, representing 1/1000 of the Social Security workforce of 60,000 employees, and he said they should be proud of this. His whole first act, and he spent so much agency time and resources on this and informing the employees. They can't read the news stories, but they can read the story that he got back at the people and got revenge on the people who once investigated him. Talk about a lawless administration. When you vote for a president, and I'm speaking to the MAGA Christians who are hardcore supporters of this president, and you identify as Christian, you voted for a criminal. He was convicted of crimes in New York State. He was accused of crimes elsewhere. And not only was there ample evidence that he committed those crimes, the crime in Florida, where he took the top secret documents with him to Mar-a-Lago from the White House, he admitted to that many times. He said, yeah, I had them here. They were here. He never even tried to deny that. But all he could do was say the people investigating it were corrupt. Well, why are they corrupt if he admits to committing the crime? That doesn't make them corrupt. Anyway, you shouldn't be surprised that he puts corrupt people into government. But why, as a Christian, would you be okay with this kind of criminal conduct? You know, you guys are really the ones responsible for bringing this to us. So yesterday we had a scare. I mean, I can't even imagine how many retired people were scared out of their minds yesterday when he said he might shut the whole agency down. You know, they're not going to get their monthly income from Social Security that everyone has relied on and has been able to depend on for the last 90 years. 90 years, 90. And he said yesterday he was going to shut it all down because he didn't like a court ruling by a judge. Just acting like a child. This is how children act. It's unbelievable. And speaking of vindictiveness, listen to this. On March 6, 2025, that's this month, folks, Social Security terminated 2 contracts with Maine's Vital Statistics Program, thereby canceling a Social Security program called Enumeration at Birth that allows Maine parents to check a box on a hospital form to request a Social Security number for their baby, their newborn baby. So in other words, when your baby's born at the hospital, they hand you a piece of paper. They say, check here if you want to, apply for a Social Security number here and now. And you just check it and it's done. A few weeks later, you'll get a Social Security card in the mail for your kids. But a Maine Health Department spokesman explained in an email that effective immediately, parents will now need to visit their local Social Security office to apply in person for their child's Social Security number. A huge burden right after you've given birth to a child. You might wait a year because you got to catch up on your sleep. You might wait till the baby can sleep kind of through the night and then go do it after you've rested and caught up. And by that time, you might forget or get busy on other things. I mean, it's a huge convenience to be able to do this at the hospital. And so now the parents were going to be required to travel to a Social Security office in person to apply for their child. A huge burden on most parents. But the next day, Leland Dudek issued a press release apologizing for the undue burden on the people of Maine, which was not the intent, and announcing that he was reinstating the contracts to support the Enumeration at Birth program. Now, that was on March 6th. On March 18th, about 2 weeks later, Dudek told the Washington Post that he had he told the Washington Post that he had singled out Maine, whose Democratic governor, Janet Mills, has fought the White House ban on transgender athletes participating in girls' sports and publicly disagreed with Trump at a White House event. He said, because I was upset with the governor's treatment of the president. Seriously? He's upset with the governor's treatment of the president. And his response is to punish the new parents of Maine. That doesn't sound good. Is this really the kind of people we want running our government agencies? And get this, what he was requiring is that Maine, the new parents in Maine, would have to travel to a Social Security office in person. Now, they're saying they're going to cut back staff and they're closing offices, and yet they're going to be requiring more and more people to travel to offices in person. Yesterday, they came out, or the day before, and said they are going to require people to go in person to a Social Security office if they need to change their bank account where their money is sent to. I mean, we're talking 94-year-olds in nursing homes that would have to somehow be transported, probably by those expensive medical transport vehicles, to a Social Security office to make these changes. That's outrageous. So you're going to make these requirements where millions more people have to go to a Social Security office, and you're going to close Social Security offices at the same time. Now, come on. Even MAGA people, I believe that even MAGA people can admit that that's wrong. I mean, If you were super MAGA, super in love with this president, super in love with Elon Musk, super in love with more efficiency in government, can you at least admit that requiring millions more people to show up at an office while closing offices and firing employees is not efficient? Can you at least admit that? It's not efficient, right? Can't we all agree on that? Republicans, Democrats, liberals, conservatives, atheists, Christians, Buddhists, Jews, can't we all agree on that? The fact that Dudek allegedly allowed the so-called Department of Government Efficiency unprecedented access to sensitive Social Security data, bypassing security measures and enabling remote access, it raises grave concerns. These actions compromise the very safeguards that protect our most private personal information, making it more vulnerable to misuse, unauthorized access, and breaches. Let's just hope, yeah, I just hope that this energizes a lot more MAGA people and a lot more Republicans to show up at their representatives' town halls, and that it will also motivate them to write to their representatives and senators and call them and email them relentlessly, letting them know of their great anger about all this. Now, you may think that they don't, representatives and senators. You may think they don't listen to you when this happens, but I can guarantee you, your representatives and senators, if they do anything, they listen to their voters. Why do you think they've been so loyal to Trump? Do you really think it's because they love him? No, it's because up until now, they've known that Republican voters have been in love with him. And believe me, the minute their voters let them know that they're no longer happy with what's going on, they're going to flee from they're going to flee from him like fans streaming for the exits after their team blows a last-minute lead. They're going to be out of there so fast. The minute they get thousands of phone calls and hundreds of angry people showing up at town halls, and it goes on for month after month, for several months at least, so they know the voters are really serious and they're not forgetting about it. And they're not just having a moment of anger, but this is long lasting. Believe me, they are going to drop him like hotcakes. It may take a year to do it, but they'll do it eventually. If the Republican MAGA voters keep showing up at town halls like they're doing, keep emailing like they're doing, keep sending in paper letters like they're doing, they know. They know when it's real. They know when the protests are authentic. They may get on TV and publicly proclaim it's all fake and George Soros paid for it, but they know. They know. So they may not tell us in public. Doesn't matter what they say in public. What matters is what we know they know in their hearts. They'll start backing away. And we've actually seen signs of it, of some congressmen kind of backing away a little bit, slowly but surely. So let's keep that up. Let's keep up that pressure. All right. Um, we're in for a ride. I'll tell you that. It's going to be wild, and I hope we can make it through. But let's all hang together and keep at it. All right. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Click like and subscribe if, in fact, you liked and want to subscribe. That would be appreciated. And I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.